Hello and welcome to the Rolling Forward podcast. I am here with Rico Hill. Rico, how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing fine.
Awesome. You are a very special guest. I've heard a lot about you. I don't know you very well, but to kick it off, I do have a question.
Okay.
You've coached everyone from youth kids, from young kids to college athletes to pro fighters like Mojo Horn and Tony Johnson. What's the biggest mindset shift between training kids and preparing professionals for the cage?
To be honest with you, I wouldn't say
Get a
that
little
there.
closer.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that it's a huge mindset.
A little closer.
A little
Sorry,
closer
you gotta
still.
just pull it
All
closer
right.
to you. There you go.
Yeah, got to get the mic right.
Yeah. No, you're good.
I wouldn't say that there's a huge difference in the mindset because a lot of it is just really two things: is will and skill.
Will and skill. Okay.
So as long as you have those two things, no matter if you're a youth wrestler or whatever you may do in sport or professional fighter, that's what you're basing it on, your will and your skill.
Yeah,
So
I like that. You said will and skill is intellect in the skills aspect?
absolutely. And sometimes the intellect can be in both, I guess.
Sure.
It depends on, how bad or how determined you are to be successful at whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So I guess, intellect comes with in sport, I would say a lot of reps and understanding the concepts of whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Interesting. Cool. Well, everybody, welcome to the Rolling Forward podcast, a podcast of people who keep rolling forward no matter what life throws at them. Real people, real stories powered by purpose, resilience, and a drive that never ends. I'm Zach Sikora. Spina bifida didn't stop me. It just gave me a better excuse to sit down while I take over the world. Today's funny t-shirt is in case of fire. It's in case of fire, use stairs, and I will try to show it to the camera. In case of fire, use stairs. And for those listening, it's a picture of stairs with a fire on it and a guy in a wheelchair is flipping upside down. So I always wear a super funny t-shirt. This is one of my favorite original funny t-shirts that I got on Amazon. But I do have my own t-shirts that I've created on rollingforward.printful.me. And if you have a good design that fits that theme, let me know in the comments. I'd love to put it into the shop. Now, let's roll into today's episode with Rico Hill. Rico, so give us a 10,000-foot overview of who you are.
Ooh, 10,000 foot. I'm just a simple guy living in Cincinnati. No.
Okay. Yeah, right. Simple guy.
Oh, I am. I'm pretty simple. Somebody called me a superhero today because they seen my day. I'm like, well,
yeah,
I could be. No, I'm born and raised in Cincinnati.
Okay.
I have two siblings, Jackie Hill and Derek Hill.
Okay.
Obviously, single mother.
Okay.
Raised and a graduate of Princeton High School.
Okay.
Over there in Shanville. Shout out to the Vikes. Big win last week against Windwoods.
Okay.
Do our Viking Jacks.
There you go.
I attended the College of Mount St. Well, I wouldn't say the college now. It's Mount St. Joe University.
Okay.
And graduated from there. Got my bachelor's from there. I got my master's at Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale. And I am currently a teacher out in the Lakota local school districts at Liberty Junior. Shout out to Liberty Junior and everybody there.
Nice.
And I am the head wrestling coach at Cincinnati Lancers High School.
Okay. Is there not like a conflict of interest there? You teach one place and coach at another?
At one point, I wouldn't say it ever was, but
yeah,
sometimes you just got to grow.
Yeah.
And it was an opportunity for me to grow and try some different things. And I actually moved on this side of town. So it was like, it made more sense.
Yeah. Do your kids either give you slack for doing something with it, for affiliating with the other?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. Only if like some of those kids end up coming to LaSalle. Like currently I got 3 kids from Lakota that I had taught that actually go to LaSalle now.
Oh, okay.
One of the biggest things and the biggest issues, I wouldn't say issues, but one of the biggest things when I first started coaching at LaSalle, we would be at the district tournament, and then it'll be a kid from Lakota on the other side. And I'm coaching at LaSalle, and one of my kids will put them out of the state, to go to state tournament or something like
yeah,
that. So I'm like giving them big hugs,
yeah,
so that kind of bothered me a little bit. But
right, right.
I'm an advocate for the sport, and it
Yeah.
is what they know. I got love for them out there,
Of
and everything,
course,
so
of
it's all
course.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me, just real quick for those that don't know those schools, just and here's an interesting thing. I'm not a Cincinnati native.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Columbus, and I moved here for
Sweet bus.
work. Yeah, right. And I think one of the weirdest things coming to Cincinnati is everybody, no matter if you're 70 years old or 20 years old, they'll always ask you what high school you
But
went
hey,
to.
that's a Cincinnati thing,
And
huh?
it's like, what is that? That's
Yep.
so weird. But anyway, just for anybody that doesn't know, can you just give like a one or two sentence overview of like what those schools are and
Yeah.
like the grades, I guess, and
Oh yeah. Well, I'm currently at the junior high, which is 7th and 8th grade, Liberty Junior. But Lakota is a public high school, or I'm saying public school district.
yeah.
Currently probably 22 schools in the district. They're trying to condense it down to about 12.
Okay.
I want to say it's the largest school district in Ohio.
Yeah,
The 22 schools is a lot.
that's
I
a
know.
lot.
They got. I don't want to mess my math up, but I'll just go here. They got 4 junior highs, 2 freshman schools, 2 high schools, 10 through 12,
Wow.
and just not to mess the math up, everything else is elementary.
Okay.
Where LaSalle is a all boy Catholic school, 9th through 12th.
Got it.
Very small, maybe 450 kids.
Mhm.
But we have been D1 in wrestling. Until now, we are moving down to D2 this year, so this is a new adventure for me, and I'm so excited about it.
So you're moving down to D2?
Yeah, we're moving down. We're
Okay.
small, yeah, so we're moving down to D2, and D2 is tough.
Mhm.
D1 has this big green monster up north by the name of St. Edward's High School.
Okay.
And we were very, very close in 2019 and taking them down.
Okay.
That's a story in itself if you want to
Okay.
later.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. I mean, do
you know.
you want to tell that
Oh,
story real quick?
absolutely. So, we had a special group of kids in 2019, and we actually St. Edwards don't come down to Cincinnati to wrestle anybody, and they
Okay.
actually came down, and this is a Googleable thing. They came down to LaSalle, and we beat them head to head in a duel match, and
Nice.
rocked the place. So. A lot of their players or their wrestlers were still in football because they were really good in football. So they end up going to the state tournament and things like that. So they thought it was a fluke. And then we end up wrestling them again in the state duel finals up at Ohio State.
Okay.
And we had a couple guys out, and they end up beating us by 1 point.
Oh.
Yeah, it was close. So we almost took it. And then we got into the individual tournament at Ohio State at the end of the year, which is that's what we call him the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah.
And we took 11 dudes to the state. They took maybe 13,
Okay.
and we placed all 11. Had 5 dudes in the finals, won 3, and we
Wow.
lost by 6 points.
Oh,
Yeah.
bummer.
It was the points that we scored that year would have won the last 42 state tournaments.
Wow.
That's how good the St. Ed's is good. They got a philosophy in the system, and they know how to
Yeah.
get it done.
That's awesome. Okay. Interesting. Well, thanks for sharing that story. Can you explain how we know each other?
Well, I was working out in the gym. I actually brought my daughter to work out in the gym, and you came in, and Rob introduced us, and it's funny because me and Rob was talking about a podcast, like getting on the podcast and having
Yeah.
a thing, and he's like, I know a guy,
Yeah.
and you just so happen to come over and introduce yourself, and I was like, this would be interesting to
Yeah.
kind of do. I always wanted to get on the podcast, and
Yeah.
see how it works, and
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't know each other well,
Yeah.
but we know each other through Rob, and
Yes.
we've met once or twice. So yeah, that's interesting. I can't wait to get into your journey with MMA, with wrestling, and all that. A few other just lighthearted questions. If if you weren't here in the studio right now, where would you be?
probably at home,
Okay.
relaxing. It's been a long day.
Yeah. I feel that. I was telling you before the podcast, it's my busy day.
Yeah.
Busy. It's our busiest week of the quarter at work, and it's pretty insane. So, but okay. So then, which fighter, past or present, would you have loved to coach for one fight?
Anybody?
Anybody, past or present.
Ooh. Uh, that is a good question. Can I pick?
Okay.
Can I pick two?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All
You
right,
don't have to pick one.
I'll take Demetrius Johnson.
Okay.
Uh, and maybe George St. Pierre.
Okay. Okay.
You
I,
know,
I,
thinking about the wrestling, maybe George St. Pierre.
yeah. All right.
He's interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. And why those two?
DJ for one. I'm a shorter guy, but I like the
Yeah.
underdog, and just he is a specialist, and just he just perfect his craft, and everything about him is just, he never cheat the game, and he's one of those guys that, if you watch him fight, he when I say that will and that skill, he has both. He got
Yeah.
that skill, he has will, and he excites the crowd. He has fun. He enjoy what he do, and it's tough. Like,
Yeah.
that's a comeback sport. It's tough to stay motivated, and I never seen him like, oh, I'm not motivated to do that. And with George St. Pierre, I did towards, I guess towards the end of his career, he kind of, start fizzling down a little bit, not the motivation. But what I liked about him so much was he had gone through a lot of, some adversity.
Yeah.
And then he came back and right, basically righted them wrongs that happened to him. So everything I love, even with the BJ Penn fight, or I think it was Matt Serra coming off the Ultimate Fighter. He got upset as the champ and got knocked out, and then he come back and just smashed Matt Serra. So that right there, that grit and that underdog type feel, I love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
I love that. Yeah, there's a lot of different directions I can take with that, but I'll go into the next question. Because we will talk a lot more about fighting later,
Okay,
and all that. So okay, so another kind of random, but if you could fight or train one fictional character, any fictional character from any movie, TV show, whatever, who would it be?
Black Panther.
Black Panther. I
Yeah.
like it. Okay.
Shout out to Chadwick. Well, I forgot Chadwick.
Yeah. He did pass away.
He
right?
did. He did.
I knew he had cancer or whatever. Right?
Maybe the guy he fought, the guy that played in Creed. So
okay, I like it. So here's a question I mentioned to you. I like right before the podcast is, when I Googled you, I expected to find like a lot of information about you.
Okay.
And I didn't find much information when I did that. And I'm curious, do you like to stay under the radar, or is that just...
That's a good question.
Yeah.
You know what, to be honest with you, I do.
Okay.
I do like being under the radar. I like being, known. Everybody and my family and everybody that I know always say, "Man, you know everybody.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, you know everybody."
Yeah, that's like Rob.
Yeah. I've been on a cruise in the middle of the ocean, and Cuba's right here, and I hear somebody go, "Who they?" And I go, "Who they?" And they go, "Where you from?" I'm like, "Cincinnati." They go like, "What's your name?" I go, "Rico." They go, "Rico Hill." I'm like, "Oh, how do you know me?" Yeah.
Okay.
So, but for the most part, I just stick to my own. I don't bother anybody,
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I just thought that was interesting. I wanted to bring it up. By the way, random story as far as like people knowing you, but this is more about me, is there's actually two. I went on a cruise with my little brother, and he's 6'9", and so he's a giant, right?
Yeah.
And we're both like outgoing and and all that. And I told him, I said, Michael, I just want you to know that most people are gonna know us by the end of the cruise. And he kind of laughed at me and whatever, and like our parents were on the cruise with us, and we hung out with them. We were going to dinner with them, and everybody was like, "Big Mike and Wheels, what's up?"
Is that what they call you, Wheels?
They call me Wheels.
Okay.
That's like a nickname. That's like my channel name. It's Wheels 3.14. So
okay.
But yeah, that was kind of funny. There was another random story that I was going to tell, but I don't remember it. So anyway, let's transition into, so we both know Rob, and one of the things that so I'm fascinated by Rob. Rob's like this genius jack of all trades. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how to put words into who Rob is, right?
Rob is Mr. Miyagi.
He is.
Rob is the most mysterious person you ever meet in your life. But he's also has the biggest heart
Yeah.
that I've known anybody. Because Rob doesn't do anything for a personal gain. Rob
Yeah.
do things to help people and to get them to where they want to be or need to be.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I've learned initially with Rob. And he's helped a lot of people flourish and get to where they need to be, and
Yeah.
hopefully those people appreciate him
Yeah.
and doing that aspect, man. But Rob is the man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I appreciate so much is his culture in the gym
Hmm.
is like if I'm not working with Rob, I'm
Mhm.
working with somebody else who's teaching me a Rob skill.
Right, right.
A
Yeah.
skill that Rob taught them.
Yeah.
And it's so awesome. Like I've been trying to develop that in my own coaching with wheelchair tennis and all that. So what's one lesson you picked up from Rob training or working with him?
Most of it is just be yourself. Working with Rob, it's funny because like I'll dibble and dabble back in the boxing thing.
Yeah.
And he initially, he'll teach me some combos and stance and the dance and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And then I'll obviously go in the season, disappear for whatever time, and then I'll come back and I'll still have a little bit of it.
Yeah.
But I'll work with somebody else and I'm like, man, I know this, but and then Rob will come right in and I'm like, pop, 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 pop.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm right back at it. And he's so slick with it and just, he got a way of bringing out something that you don't know you have in you.
Yeah. For sure.
Shout out Rob Jones.
Yeah, it's funny because like I was working with, I don't remember if it was Adam or I think it was Adam, and I'm a year into doing MMA and all that, and I'm boxing and Rob's watching, and I make a like I like swing out wide or
Yeah.
something like that, and I'm like, I know Rob, I know, and he's like, I didn't even say anything.
Right. He knows.
So he's like, he's in your head without being in your head.
Yeah.
So
He lets you be you too, because
Yeah.
one thing is like wrestling. I'm a right leg lead,
Oh, okay.
so but I'm a righty, so
Mm.
obviously right-handed
Yeah.
fighters they'll usually step with their left foot and box there. But for me, mentally, not even I guess you can say that. Mentally, it'll screw everything up if I kind of go left leg. Yeah, sometimes I can wrestle left leg, but the philosophies will change. So everything
okay.
about my striking will change. So I fight southpaw.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, so I'm even though I'm right-handed, I'll fight southpaw and I'll stay with my right foot because my footwork is already good because of wrestling. So I just fight southpaw.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a southpaw myself.
Yeah.
So a natural
Okay.
southpaw.
Okay. Yeah. I'm converted. I'm converted.
That's awesome. How did you guys meet, you and Rob?
Well, that's how, I mean, besides Tony, Tony Johnson, he was training with Rob, and then we had met through Tony Johnson, and then Mojo Horn had, he had a, I don't know if you know Mojo.
I don't know.
That's we can talk about Mojo,
Sure.
a little bit later, or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But that's a long, a nice story. But he had kind of needed some help with his wrestling, and he had brought me in, and it was almost like his comeback tour.
Okay.
He had actually no, I knew Rob before that. It was Tony Johnson.
Okay.
It was Tony. Yep, it was
Okay.
Tony. It was Tony.
All right.
For sure, 100%.
Is
Yep.
interesting Tony Johnson story. So he was in the downtown gym when I was there.
Okay.
And I introduced myself. I'm like, I'm Zach. He's like, I'm Tony. Yada yada yada. And I was not in the fighting world at all. I didn't watch MMA or anything, and I didn't know who he was. And so then I trained, and on my way out, I was like, what's your name again? And he just kind of looked at me like just briefly, and I maybe I'm reading too far into it, but he's like, wait, you don't know who I am? Oh, I'm Tony.
Yeah, that's a Tony thing.
Yeah.
That's my boy. That's a little bro.
Yeah, that was funny. So anyway, how would you and this is gonna give you you can think about this one for a little bit.
Okay.
But In 3 words, how would you describe Rob?
Mysterious, loyal,
Mm,
inspiring.
nice. The last word while you're thinking that I thought of was dedicated. But there's so many words that can
Yeah,
describe
yeah,
Rob.
right,
So
yeah.
yeah, I love it. Anything else about Rob? Do you have like a Rob story that comes to mind of either a funny one or a serious one or
Uh, no, I mean, I actually, we traveled down to, Florida one time for Tony's fight, and I remember, sitting there, we were at Cage Shot, and Tony was actually fighting, if you know MMA, the Black Beast, Derek Lewis.
okay? Oh yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we fought him.
My balls was hot.
Yeah, my balls was hot. That's my guy. Shout out D Lewis.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tony was fighting him, and I think, and Rob, when he's cornering, Rob will talk, but he's talking to you, and he's like, well, he need to do this, and he need, and I'm like, tell him. And I'm all animated and whatever. This big
Yeah.
old dude coming in, and he swung and hit Tony with a straight right hand. It was the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life. Oh,
Oh.
and Rob just go, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, "We gotta wrestle this guy. Tony, take you down."
Yeah,
So yeah, me and Rob cornered is something special. It's,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
so
Who
it's good.
ended up winning that fight?
Tony Johnson won
Tony
the
won.
fight. Yeah, we
Nice.
got to win over Black Beast.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
shout out Tony. Shout out D Lewis too.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. Wow,
that's
that's a cool
Bellator.
story.
Yep.
Okay, anything else that you wanna share about Rob?
Yeah, man. Like if anybody got an opportunity to work with Rob, to have a conversation with him, or just just again, like just work with him. You should come over and see him. He's
Yeah.
a very interesting guy, and he's there to help you, and
Mhm.
his training and what he want for people in
Yeah.
general. No matter who you are, he don't have to. Oh, I gotta get paid for this or this. He's just a from the heart type of person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and
Mhm.
yeah, he's I don't know. I can talk. I can just Rob is just dope, man. He is
Yeah.
just a dope
Yeah,
person.
yeah, yeah.
Rob is the only person I know that can probably go off the grid and just be like a superhero,
Yeah,
like, you know.
right, yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's interesting. I have yet to have Rob on.
yeah,
Uh
he's off the grid. If you think I'm off the grid, he's you know, I'm a little bit below him.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
this
right.
this I'm coming out of the back cave right now.
I wanna get him and, like, every single person that I've interviewed
Oh, look,
so
if
far,
you
like
get Rob on, I need to be sitting right there next to you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, anyway, Rob, good person. He will come on the show eventually for those that are curious. He's hard to tie down, so, no, anyway, okay, so let's get into the theme question.
Okay.
What keeps you rolling forward?
Uh, Mostly my kids.
I love that.
Mostly my kids. The thing that I wake that they're my motivation.
Mm,
That keeps me rolling forward. Um, and when I say my kids, I mean my biologicals and my stepkids. And I mean every kid that I interact with.
mm,
The kids that I teach, the kids
yeah,
that I coach.
mm,
That's what keep me rolling forward. That's
yeah,
what get me up in the morning. That's what keeps me up at 10, 11 o'clock at night thinking about how
mm,
I can be better for them, or what
yeah.
can I do to help them get better. That keeps me rolling forward.
What's one of the most important lessons that you try to instill in all your kids?
Um, for one, being yourself, being
Yeah,
authentic. A
authentic,
lot of
yeah.
people, especially in this time, they want to, keep up with the Joneses, or when it comes to lifestyle choices, kids are influenced by four things:
Sure.
peer pressure,
Mm,
imitation,
mm,
curiosity, and rebellion.
mm,
All right. And those four things, they're gonna fall in those categories somehow. Quick side note, I remember I was teaching, there was a senior that year,
mhm.
and I was probably teaching, it was like first or second year teaching, and I was teaching kind of that lesson, and he kind of stood up and was like, "Y- you know, I got a question. I said, first off, sit down. Then he
Okay.
go, well, what if I just want to smoke a cigarette? I'm not imitating anybody or whatever. I said, so let me ask you a question. As a baby, do you know what a cigarette is?
Mm.
Well, no. I said, do you know what a lighter is? No. Do you know to take that lighter and light that cigarette? No. I said, so you seen somebody do it, right? Yeah. I said, you're imitating somebody.
Uh,
So, it's always, everybody want to challenge it, but if you look at those four things, they always fall into that category. So I
yeah.
try to keep that, that lesson there and also help them live in whatever I call it a triangle, where
Mhm.
it's three even parts. And if, physical, social, mental, and then
Mhm.
inside you got your emotional and spiritual as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And a lot of time you want to kind of balance that triangle out, but it's almost impossible because when
Right.
you give a little bit of one thing, you're going to take away from another.
Mhm.
So it's just trying to keep as even that triangle as even as possible if you can. So
Yeah. I think it's worth repeating. What were those 4 things that you mentioned?
the four lifetime life
Yeah.
choices: peer pressure,
Mhm.
curiosity,
Mhm.
imitation,
Mhm.
and rebellion.
Mhm. Now, it seems like all of those could be pretty negative, except for curiosity.
Mhm.
Would you agree with that analogy that that
Um,
analysis?
I would say a little bit of peer pressure and rebellion, but I don't necessarily think imitation and curiosity could be in a
Okay.
negative because I can want to imitate. Let's say I have an older brother that is a superstar athlete,
Uh,
and I want to imitate him.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Mm,
or being curious is not a bad thing because most kids are curious.
yeah,
That's why they take things and put it in their mouth.
yeah.
Touch stuff that they don't probably because they are curious.
Mm,
Curiosity is not always a bad thing,
right.
and it helps you grow and it
Mhm,
helps you learn. So I don't
mhm.
I don't know if it's a negative thing to learn.
Yeah,
You're just not learning direct. Hey, don't touch that stove. It's hot.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Maybe they need to learn that. So
yeah,
it can be an indirect way of teaching. So I don't think curiosity imitation can always be negative. Let's say that, but I do understand where you're coming from when you say
yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so since you mentioned curiosity, I'm gonna
Okay.
go off on a little bit of a disability tangent real quick. So when I'm going down in public,
Mhm.
and let's say I'm at the mall or whatever else, I haven't visited the mall in forever, so I don't even remember
Yeah,
know why I said that. But anyway, let's say I'm out at the mall and there's a child and they see me in the wheelchair.
yeah.
What do you think the first thing that child does?
It's there.
They stare
Yeah,
or they yell, "Mommy, Daddy, look at that," or "Why is that person like that?" or something along those
you've
lines,
you've got
right?
that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
It happens very, very frequently. But here's the thing is, so I'm very open about my disability,
Okay.
and I look at you asking me questions about my disability as you getting to know a piece of who I am.
Yeah.
And I was this was a birth effect, so I didn't go through anything traumatic to get my
Okay.
injury or anything, right?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty open about talking about it. So when a kid does that, yells out like, "Mommy, look at that," or whatever else, what do you think the parents' first reaction is?
They're probably shocked and embarrassed.
They're shocked and embarrassed,
Yeah.
and they shush their kid,
Yeah.
right? A lot of times, that happens more often than not. Sometimes you'll get a parent like, "Oh, well, he just gets around differently," or you'll hear one of those comments,
Yeah.
which is great, right? You mentioned curiosity.
Uh-huh.
I think that's a curious, thing. I don't think there's anything to be offended or embarrassed about a child saying, "Wow, look at that," or "Why is that person like that?" or just yelling those things
Uh-huh.
out.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome that the kid is curious about it because if you're in public, it's not every day that you see a guy in a wheelchair
Mhm.
walking down and you're just you're expressing your curiosity towards that.
That is true.
And so my question to you being in education and all that is I think the parents that shush their kids are setting their kids up to stop being curious, especially around the disabled community.
Okay.
Like and it almost creates, I think, an elephant in the room of like people don't know how to interact because their mom told them to shut up and not ask questions
Right.
and all that. And I'm not a psychologist. I've not done any research on
Right,
that,
right,
but
right.
that's just a theory that I have about disability and all that. I just want to. I'm curious what you thought
All
about
right.
that theory. That theory.
Okay, can we be open?
Yeah,
All right,
please.
all right. I think the problem is the way society is, whoever that is,
Mm-hmm.
has made it odd for any individual to, um, be curious, as you say.
Yeah.
If a kid, asks a question or they say something that's not appropriate or whatever they want to say, you
Right.
got shh, be quiet, don't say that,
R-
that's rude,
right.
and to them, they are curious,
Yeah.
and when they are, they don't know. I know my daughter's like that. My young one, she's, she'll just say something, not intentionally, but she'll ask questions or things of that nature, and
Right.
you're gonna give her the answer. Um, how do you handle that? Because I think as adults we think it's rude,
Mm,
so I think we don't try to necessarily shush them, but it's more like, "Hey, stop being rude," and then we can talk
yeah.
about this later.
Yeah.
Verse because maybe a lot of people are not like you and
Yeah.
built like you, and
That's true.
I like the way your spirit is, and you're confident in who you are, and
Mm,
some people may be a little insecure about that,
yeah.
and you don't know how they're gonna respond to it.
Mm,
So I think that's a double-edged sword there, not in a bad way, but
that's
you
true.
know,
I don't ever hear the conversation after
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
roll away.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's fair. It could be like an education piece that they have in the car, and like, hey, don't be rude and do that. So
correct.
that's an interesting perspective. I brought this up multiple times on the podcast, and that's you're the first person that has brought that perspective in. So I like it. Thank you. So one thing I will say is I always try to go over and talk to the kid, and
Mhm.
I'll explain my disability, just in whatever age appropriate level that is,
Right.
and just be like, you want to race or just
Yeah,
do something stupid like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
right? And then recently I've been turning to the parent and been like, I love your kid's curiosity,
Mhm.
to kind of give that parent like almost like a breath of fresh air of like, oh, okay, it wasn't horribly inappropriate for my kid to say that to him, or something
Right,
like
right, right.
that, right? So anyway, that was a tangent. Anyway, back to the rolling forward, the what keeps you rolling forward questions. Um, so the other one with that is, what's one of the biggest things that keeps you grounded?
That's a good question. Um, knowing that even though I don't physically see people watching, people are always watching.
Mm,
People are always watching.
yeah.
Anything you do, and I'm not saying you do anything bad or anything, but like
Mhm.
anything you do, anything you say, anything you post, anything,
Mhm.
people are always watching. You don't know who those people are. You don't know if they're
Yeah.
friends or their family or people that, see you as somebody that can potentially make them a lot of money, or some people that are just haters that just want
Mm.
to, something to talk about, or,
Mm.
so people are always watching. So it kind of keep me grounded to, just not crash out all the
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
maybe, on a cruise or something, like, but at the end of the day, that keeps me grounded and knowing that I have, you know, again, I got, a older daughter and a younger daughter, and, I'm like, they're superheroes.
Yeah,
So that keeps you grounded.
that's awesome. I
Yeah.
I I love that. What's one thing that excites you about walking into the gym?
The fact that I can be free.
Mm.
Um, every Most of the time I gotta train everybody else or do something for somebody else. Like most of the time I walk in here, I got my daughter and she is so funny. She's 4, about to be 5. Shout out to Gianna.
Alright,
But
alright.
she's about to be 5, and she'll come in the gym and just set up her own like obstacle course and things like that. And
Nice.
and she's curious.
Yeah.
She's very, very curious and want to do this, or she'll see something and then she'll come up and Daddy, let's wrestle. And she's not into wrestling. I
Mm.
haven't gotten her in it, but she's been around it. She's been in my practices and
Yeah.
things like that. But you know, what excites me is I can just be myself. I can be free. I don't have somebody, barking at me to do this, do that, or I don't have to come in and train anybody, or I can help other people and train them.
Yeah.
You know, there's some young kids in there right now that I can go in there and, I walk in and Rob go, "Hey, you got them today." I'm like, "Rob, I was coming to get my workout in, man. Like now I gotta, but okay,
Yeah,
because I know you would do that for me.
right,
So I have
yeah.
no problem, helping anybody else. But the freedom that I love for the gym, it has everything that you need.
Mhm.
If I want to, lift weights, I can lift weights. If I just want to get some cardio, and I get cardio. If I want to strike, I can go strike, and I can stay as long as I want,
Yeah,
or stay as short as
yeah.
and I like that part about it.
How often do you train here, and also do you train downtown?
Well, no. This I just recently started coming to this facility.
Okay.
Because obviously when I started getting the season, we just started season, and I literally almost disappeared just because of time or
Yeah, yeah,
things like
yeah.
that. Like usually I try to come on Tuesdays. Dale Mitchell, I know you had an interview with Dale.
Yeah.
He's a really good friend of mine,
Ah,
and
okay.
obviously I knew Rob, but so he was like, "Hey, I come on Saturday mornings and Tuesdays," and I was trying to, and my daughter actually does swim on Tuesdays over at Bear Paddle, like right down
Mhm.
the street. So I was like, well, we can just stop by the gym on Tuesdays and try to do Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays. But now
Yeah,
I'm in season, so it's like, oh,
it's
man,
hard.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
oh, it's hard.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just, I'll go to the gym down there.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. Do you train when you train others a little bit, or
um, if I wouldn't call it training.
okay, yeah.
Like I'm 47, so it's like my
Mhm.
training days are a lot over. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I try to break a sweat and do what I need to
Sure.
do sometimes, man. But you know, after a long day of work, my body, I got some pains and aches, and obviously you got to show them technique and things of that nature. So some days I may have drank a Celsius and still and jacked up, ready to go, and
Yeah.
then some days I'm just running on fumes, like let's just get through it,
Right,
you know.
right. Yeah, I feel that,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, how has your motivation evolved since you first started coaching and all that?
I think my vision for wanting to succeed in something has changed.
Oh.
When I was younger, it was just, you know, I wasn't I wouldn't say entitled, but I felt like things needed to be handed to me,
Mhm.
um, and I didn't know that there was a process
Mm.
for getting those things.
Yeah.
Because obviously I started out as an assistant coach, and out college, and then when I got to Lakota East, I coached in a high school under a guy by the name of Bob Latessa.
Okay.
Now, Bob Latessa, is he's he's a philosopher. Like
Okay.
you're thinking on level 1, and he's on level 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
And what Bob did for me as a inspiring coach, and as a man, a young 23-year-old, 22, 23-year-old guy, was he never was like really direct.
Mm.
He always was indirect. And
Okay.
everything about him was about the kid. Where we're so shallow minded as a 22, 23-year-old. Oh, it got to be this, and we're looking at A, B, and C,
Yeah.
and Bob Latessa is already on X, Y, and Z.
Mm.
And I had to learn that. So after the years piled up, and I went back from the high school and actually went down to junior high and realized, okay, this is how it goes. And
Mm.
then went back to high school as assistant, then became a head coach. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get it.
Um,
And he, again, what he instilled indirectly in that mentality was amazing.
mm.
Shout out to Bob, wherever you are. Bob
Yeah.
Latessa, man. He's a great guy. Great
Okay.
guy.
Okay.
Great guy. Yep.
Interesting. Was he one of the first people that inspired you in this space?
And sport and wrestling?
Mhm.
No. The person that started me out in wrestling, because I got a late start at it.
Okay.
Um,
How old?
I was ninth grade.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought I was, I was hooping. I'm Larry Bird, Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
But then I realized I'm, a 5 footer, so it ain't happening. I can jump though. They used to call me leapfrog.
Can you dunk?
Oh man, what depend on the day. I can sit here and cap, but I probably threw it down on the 8 foot rim or something. I don't know,
Okay, okay.
but I could jump. That's one thing I could. I get some rebounds. I get some, So my experience in wrestling was actually we offered it in gym class in 8th grade, and we would go in there in gym class, and they introduced us to the sport, and I'm like, whatever. I'm tearing these kids up, but I'm like, I'm not doing
Mm.
this stuff. Look at these outfits, whatever.
Yeah.
So ninth grade, I'm in. I was a baseball guy. Dabbled in a lot of other things, and the coach come in there. You ever wrestled before? No. Hey, why don't you come with me? I'm like, I ain't coming with you. What are you doing? Who are you? Like. So I end up going up to one of their open mats,
Uh-huh.
and I seen these guys. I'm like, man, I used to beat these guys in gym class. Like, I'm gonna try this out.
Yeah.
And I got on the team. They make, I'm in there killing it preseason. They make me the captain of the team. I don't know
Oh,
what. So we drive all the way to Dayton up in Fairmont. And I
okay.
lose my first match 6-3.
Oh.
And it was because I was locking hands and doing these illegal things. I
Mm.
didn't know. And
Oh.
I'm in my mind, I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's over. So that was on like a Thursday night. I don't know if you mind me telling the
No,
story. Okay,
please
good.
go for
So
it.
that was like on a Thursday night, and Friday, they knew I was like, I'm done with this, and I've never quit anything in my life or anything like that. And I ain't tell nobody, but they knew.
Yeah.
Um, so what they did was they was like, "Hey, come up to the varsity practice," because we've
Uh-huh.
been freshman practice in a different area. So I went up to the varsity practice with the varsity that day, and I'm like,
Mm.
"It's a different life." And I had a good practice, and there was a guy by the name of Kenny Hayrow. God
Okay.
rest in peace, Kenny Hayrow. And Kenny Hayrow it kind of changed my life. That's another, something that we can go into later. But
Okay.
um, Kenny Hayrow basically was trying to keep me on the team, and he was a senior. I was a little freshman. He was a two-time state placer, trying to win a state title his senior year, and he was giving me all the benefits. So I
Yeah.
decided, that next morning we had a tournament. It was Saturday, and I didn't go. I
Uh,
stayed home, but in my mind, the whole day was bothering me. And I'm like, I want to be the captain, but I don't, I didn't know how to work. I'm like, something wrong with my heart. I don't, whatever.
yeah.
Until my mother got home, and she said, "Why are you here?" She's like, "Didn't
Mm.
you have a tournament?" I said, "Well, yeah, man, mom, something wrong." She said, I said, so I get to school. This is Saturday, Sunday go, Monday. I got anxiety all weekend.
Mm.
So I get off the bus, and the head varsity coach is in the front of Princeton, the old Princeton, not the new one, the old,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So he's sitting there. I get off the bus, and he looked, "Where were you at?" Huh? So I'm like, "I'm not wrestling anymore. What do you mean?" And he's just ripping me. And we walk into school, and it's, my sister's a senior, and he just ripping me. "You want to be a quitter, a good loser in life?" Yeah. And in my mind, I'm hearing it, but I'm also embarrassed because there's people
Mm.
watching, like, what did I do? I'm not a bad kid. I'm
Right.
just deciding not to do something and concentrate on something else.
Yeah.
So that day, I get to homeroom, and I hear all these guys that we lost 66-3 the other day. I'm thinking they just suck, like, and so I'm like, I'm hearing they went to the tournament, they placed first, they placed second. I'm like, I'm better than all these guys. So I had a
Oh.
decision to make that day. And
Mm.
if you ever been to Old Princeton, there was a street and like their hallway is called Hollywood, and the senior
Mhm.
hallway was Vine.
Okay.
So I stood there, and I had a choice either to walk straight and get on the bus or take a right and go to
Oh.
practice. And I just said, "Yeah," and I
Yeah.
take that right.
Yeah.
And when I walked in the locker room, it was like everything was talking to, and it just everything stopped. Everybody looked back, seniors, and they go, "Psh," almost like, "Look at that quitter. Look at that
Oh.
loser." And that just lit me up. So,
Yeah.
I go to practice. I ain't talk to nobody, and I'm just destroying people that day. And, even the
Nice.
coach wasn't talking to, so it made me even more mad. Like,
Mm.
so he pulled me out in the hallway and said, "You know what? It took guts for you to come back, but you didn't let me down. You let your team down. So I'm gonna let them vote you if you want to be on the team or not."
Oh,
So I'm in the
wow.
weight room, and I was praying. Literally, I was praying, "Hey, please God, please let me back on this team
Wow.
because I'm not a quitter. I'm gonna finish this out. I'm not a quitter." And then they came down. I was like, "Yeah, it's messed up, but you're a good wrestler, so let's we want you on the team." And
Yeah.
then I'm giving them hugs and everything. And we walked back, and there was one kid. He go, you know, "Hey," I go, "What?" He said, "I didn't vote for you." I'm like,
Oh.
in my mind, I'm like, "Why not?" He go, "Because you're in my weight class and you kick my butt every day." So yeah, and I went on and ripped it up, and that year, and practiced with the
Nice.
varsities, and things like that. And by the next year, I was just rocking and rolling. And
Nice.
then go on and be a state placer in high school, and
Okay.
went on to college and was my college first ever All American, and You know, first guy inducted in the Hall of Fame there. So yeah.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, well, so let me go back to something. So
Yeah.
you went into the wrestling room or whatever, I forget what you called it, but and you saw everybody and they were like,
Locker room. Yeah.
yeah, the locker room. Thank you.
Yeah.
And they were like almost scoffing at you and like just kind of made you an outcast, if you will.
You know,
right?
listen, that's how maybe I'm interpreting it. But
Okay.
you know, sometimes you need motivation. Like I remember, you know, somebody talking about Michael Jordan. He'll read the newspaper and they say something. Oh, I'm gonna bust this guy for 50 today. You know,
Sure.
maybe that was his motivation. But
Okay.
I know I felt what I felt that day,
Sure.
and I know I felt like I'm not what y'all think I am, and I'm gonna
Right.
prove to y'all. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna do this. I'm
Right.
I'm gonna walk that walk right now.
Right.
You know.
Well, so I think what fascinates me about that is that feeling would make a lot of people just turn around and walk out right then and there. But you kept going, and I'm
Yeah.
curious what that was.
What it was will.
It was will. All
It
right,
was will.
Will and skill.
Yeah, it was will.
Okay.
You know, and again, I grew up, you know, just with my mom, and it wasn't like she's a sports person. She was always supportive of anything I did. She never, you know, get out there and do this and
Yeah.
never was that person. But I
Mm.
don't know where I got that fire from. But it's, you know, it
Yeah.
was just more like I'm not what you think I am, but I'm not trying to prove you wrong.
Right.
I'm trying to prove me right. You know, it ain't about you, you know, those individuals right now. This is about me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I need to let myself know that I'm not what, you know, they think I am, but I know that I'm not that. So
Interesting.
and I came back, yeah, won that next match.
So you played basketball and
And
baseball
I played
before
basketball.
that.
Yeah, well, I did a lot of things before that.
Okay.
You know, I started my athletic career started with actually gymnastics.
Ah.
My sister, shout out to my sister, Jackie Hill. She was in elementary and they started gymnastics in our elementary at 4th grade.
Okay.
So I was in, well, she was maybe at 5th or 6th grade, but I was too young to join the team. But I would stay after school with her because obviously we walked home together and things like that.
Yeah.
But I would do the routines and everything, and I did the routines better than everybody on the team. And I just had to wait my turn. So once I hit 4th grade, I think, and I started the gymnastics thing, and they had the volleyball at school, and then you know we started doing the basketball thing, and then the baseball thing, and the wrestling.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're a natural athlete.
I can pretty much do just about anything.
Have you played tennis?
I've played a little tennis, a
Yeah.
little racquetball.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
you know what I haven't gotten to is this pickleball. thing.
Pickleball?
Yeah, I don't know. My knee's a little cracky, but yeah, I haven't gotten to this little pickleball thing.
Yeah. Pickleball is one of those things as a devout tennis player and coach. I begrudgingly like pickleball is what I
Oh, yeah?
say. It's like, you know, they're taking over the tennis courts, but it is actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
I've been coaching it with like just entry level, like adaptive and wheelchair athletes and stuff like that. So it is fun.
Yeah,
So.
I teach it in class, but it's
Do you
like,
really?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
I just ain't really got out there and got after. I guess my equipment is not good enough. I can do.
Yeah,
If I'm gonna do it,
right.
I'm gonna.
Right.
I want to come with the good stuff, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wiffle ball and a paddle.
Right,
Like,
right.
I don't think your equipment has to be
No,
great
my
for
paddle
that,
was like
but-
hard plastic, and now I'm hearing I see all these nice little,
Yeah.
nice little thump sound.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so I guess the other part of the motivation that I'm curious about is, so you picked up wrestling. Why did you not? Well, how do I want to say this? I almost want to say, like, why did you stop doing those other sports for wrestling? Like, what was it about wrestling that really intrigued you over the other ones?
Ooh, that's good. Well, I didn't stop. I continued to play baseball through high school, all 4 years.
Okay.
Football, the wrestling coach, you know, I'm like, hey, he was like, nope, nope, you're gonna be a state champion. No, you know, so they kind of stopped that. But here's the funny thing: I got to college and I played football.
Oh.
Yeah, I was a football player in college.
Huh.
So it's funny, but I couldn't do baseball, which was a big love for me. because it overlapped. I would be at the national tournament, and they started their season so early in baseball in college, so it overlapped so much that I couldn't do that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Huh. All right.
yeah, I did. Yeah, it was odd, but yeah, I did football and wrestling in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I guess the next like segment or whatever is basically you and coaching and all that.
Okay.
So can you take us from like you went to college,
Mhm.
you got a degree, you're obviously teaching now, but how'd you get into the whole coaching thing?
Um, so there was a guy by the name of Rod Huber at Mount St. Joe,
Mm,
and he recruited me down there. And it's funny because Mount St. Joe was my actually last choice to go to the college. I thought I was going to Ohio University and
okay.
things like that, but it was my last choice. But he actually changed my life.
Mm,
And so when it got to the point of me graduating and things like that, he was like, come coach football with me, and obviously, come coach wrestling.
yeah.
And he was the assistant. He was at the time he was the head wrestling coach and assistant football coach.
Okay.
And so he brought me on wrestling, and I had actually got one of my high school coaches to be a coach there, by the name of Jock Boggs. He is now my assistant coach at LaSalle.
Oh, okay.
Shout out to Jock. um,
Nice.
you know, so he actually was there. So it was me, Coach Huber, and Coach Boggs, and we, Coach Huber came to me and said, "Hey, look, do you want this wrestling job? Because I need to focus on football. Football team
Mm,
was terrible at the time. They were like 0-10.
yeah.
So he um, he wanted to focus on that, and he did that because he just took a team that had 6 kids on it, recruit a guy like me and one of my best friends, Brad Fox, who just so happened to be my lawyer, by the way. Shout out to Brad, and my
Okay.
assistant coach now. Um, uh, so he recruited us. The next thing you know, we get there, we get a little fire under him. Next thing you know, I placed, become All American. Now we're getting transfers from Virginia Tech and University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, and all these other things, and we end up
Nice.
7th in the country.
Wow.
So he got me coaching football and coaching wrestling
Okay.
at the college level initially, and then when I became a teacher, I kind of evolved to the junior high and
Yeah.
the high school type feel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then you got into the MMA space.
Yeah, that was solely Tony.
Okay.
That was solely Tony Johnson. When he decided to go into that route,
Okay.
because it wasn't initial. Tony wasn't somebody that kind of, hey, I'm gonna do MMA. It was fairly new.
Mm,
MMA was out for a while. I knew about MMA well before that because when I was in college, I worked up at Ohio State. I used to do their youth wrestling camps,
Yeah.
and that's when Mark Coleman,
Okay.
and Kevin Randleman and those guys. So I was hanging out with those guys up there, and they were UFC champions,
Yeah.
at the time. And I'm like, these are crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
crazy dudes. I don't know if I can tell any of those stories, but we're gonna keep this PG. Shout out to Kevin Randleman, rest in peace. But they were some dudes, and that was my first introduction into like that MMA world. Not that I even trained with them or did anything, but those guys were introduced me into that. So it got me looking at it a little bit more, and I'm like, man, I kind of like this. A little wrestling, a little striking.
Okay.
And then like guys like Rich Franklin, who's a teacher over at Oak Hills,
Mm,
kind of start getting into it, and then you get your Anderson Silvers or whatever. And then when Tony said, he's kind of going to try to fight, then I'm like, okay. And he started doing that. He started doing some amateur things, and then he turned pro. And I'm like, okay, you're forgetting one aspect of this MMA thing. Everybody always call it UFC, but it's
yeah.
it's actually MMA.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Tony, you need to start wrestling. That's your base. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So then we start, working out a little bit more on that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Interesting. And but you had okay, so I suppose as a professional fighter, and I didn't think about this until now, you have a bunch of different coaches. You have a wrestling coach, you have a sparring coach, you have
You have
All that,
jujitsu, you got
right? Yeah.
striking, you got,
Okay.
and at the time, like, he had Rob for striking. I don't know where he was doing his jujitsu, but wrestling can transition to jujitsu.
Sure.
I don't know if he's a big jujitsu guy anyway. So yeah, you have multiple coaches
Got it.
in those corners for those disciplines or wherever the fight may go. Because you
Yeah.
start standing up, but it can end up
Right.
up against the cage, and getting up on the ground, and
Yeah.
again, like the Black Beast fight, like
Yeah.
it started with that right hand, pow,
Yeah.
and next thing you know, let's get him on the ground. 'Cause we
Yeah.
don't want to feel that no more.
Yeah.
So
Right.
so Rob, you're up. All right, Rico, you're up. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay. So you mostly trained him on wrestling.
Yeah, I'm strictly I'm not um a boxer. I'm not a striker.
Sure.
Like I said, I'm still learning myself. And
Yeah.
just, I mean, I can go in there and strike
Okay.
and look like I know what I'm doing and, things like that. But I'm not a striker. I can't sit there and tell you, this, and this. Not like Rob.
Right.
Rob, this is what he do. He can close his eyes and do it.
Right.
And I can close my eyes and wrestle.
Right.
And it's one of those things. So I'm strictly just that part of it. I'm not going to say I'm anything more than that. If you want wrestling, I don't care what it is, where it's at, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. So the next question, so you and Tony Johnson, were you guys? How did you guys meet?
He was a high school wrestler at Lakota East.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was coaching at Lakota East. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I connected those dots quite yet.
That was our first introduction, and it's family, and a little side note. Here's the thing. This is how we really became super close. At the time, sorry.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
You're good. You're good.
Stretch it.
You can pull it close to you if you need to.
Yes, stretch it a little bit. Good.
Yeah.
So at the time, my brother moved. My sister had moved down to Georgia, and then my mom moved down to Georgia with my sister. So I really didn't have a lot of immediate family here. I got some, cousins here and there, but I didn't really have my people, my village that I'm used to.
Yeah.
And the Johnsons would, they would take me on Thanksgivings. They would, Mama Johnson cook up some stuff. I don't know if you ever had Mama Johnson. Mama Johnson can burn, man. She cooked up something. So we would go over there for Thanksgiving. At least I would. And I was just part of the family. Pops, Big Tony, we call him Big Tony, but this Tony Johnson Sr. He always say, son, you coming over? Like, and to this day, they treat me like, I'm that son that, even though I'm older than all of them, but they treat me as family, and I accept that, So it was kind of like Tony was always like my little brother, even though he's bigger than me in size, he'll know I still slam him right now.
I was gonna ask.
I'm baiting him right now to come on out there.
He just breaks through the door.
I'm baiting him right now.
Yeah, he just breaks.
We'll get it on film. I'm baiting him. He need to get his wrestling in anyway. Come on, buddy. I'm with you.
Yeah. Who wins in a wrestling match if it's strictly wrestling?
He's a big boy, man. Tony's like 300 pounds. But I'm gonna okay. So let's do this. So back in the day when I was a young buck, even though he's bigger, and things like that, he'll grab, oh man, you strong and things like that. But Tony has a great way of hurting anybody he touches.
Yeah.
So he got these big old King Kong claws and things like that. So he'll club you. You're gonna feel it.
Yeah.
But strictly wrestling, I don't know. If it was a pound for pound thing, I don't know. Tony, I'm never gonna bet against myself. I don't care who y'all are in this world. I'm not betting against myself.
That's awesome.
It's that way. That's that will I was telling you about.
Yeah. I mean, it's you guys are in completely different weight classes.
Oh God, yeah. He's like 3 of me. Well, I'm a little,
Yeah. Right. Okay. What about when you first met Tony?
Okay.
What stood out about his mindset and skill set?
What I saw out of Tony was him trying to imitate another guy that came a year or two before him. There's a Russian guy who's an MMA, dabbled in some MMA. His name is Haytak Pliev.
Okay.
Shout out to Haytak. Like, he's a Russian kid. He actually went to Princeton. He was a little bit after me. I was in college, and they kept telling me, hey, man, this little Russian guy, like, he's little, he's coming to Princeton, he's gonna be a state champion. So I
Yeah.
went up one practice out of college, and I went to go see him and things like that. And he was a good kid. He was 145 pounds, little baby face kid, right?
Yeah.
By the next year, he's 171 pounds, facial hair, he done hit puberty,
Yeah.
and he's a state qualifier. And then I think, it's some things like once you start getting good, people start noticing you, and then now they trying to siphon you and solicit you to go here. Let's go to this school. Let's go to that school.
Yeah.
So they kind of, did a little bit of that with the family and things like that. So he ended up in Columbus. You said you're from Columbus. So he ended up at a school up there, and we were at Ohio. I was teaching actually at Ohio State that summer. And he was like, Rico, I don't want to be up here. I want to win it in the Division I. He loved Princeton. So what he did was actually,
Do you know where in Columbus? Just out of curiosity?
Marion Harding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Marion Harding.
Mm-hmm.
That's where he kind of ended up.
Okay.
I want to say Harding, either Marion Harding or Marion Pleasant.
Okay.
One of them. But and he was getting some advice for some people, up there and things like that. And I don't know all the full details of it, but make a long story short, he ended up coming back to Cincinnati, where he met Bob Latessa.
Okay.
See how they connect?
Yeah.
So, Princeton guy, whatever, and he met Bob Latessa.
Okay.
And that's when he evolved. The kid he now become a 2-time state champion, senior high school national champion, and where things kind of, and Tony was a younger, couple years younger than him. So Tony was seeing what he did training wise, what he was doing, the running, the this and that. And now Tony I want to be that.
Yeah.
I want to be the man. He was the man. I want to be the man now.
Yeah.
And eventually Tony got to that point where he was the man.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of imitation. I could have took that in a million directions, but I'll stick it with that. But that's with that imitation thing. He did that with Haytak Pliyev, and he became who he is out of that. If you ever go to Lakota East and go down right before you walk in the wrestling room, there's a mural of two people. One is Haytak, Winnie State, and one is Tony.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I've never been there. So.
Yep.
By the way, you mentioned you teach pickleball. Cincinnati Tennis Foundation does go out to schools and helps coach pickleball and tennis and all that. So I don't know if you've ever seen Cincinnati Tennis Foundation in schools at all, but we're mostly in the Cincinnati.
Cincinnati Public?
Yeah, the Cincinnati Public area.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm out in suburbia, so.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But I don't think we would say no. So if you ever wanted us to teach a class, let me know. Anyway, what so how often do you train with I guess MMA fighters? How often do you train with?
Well, my training with MMA fighters was, that was a little bit of years back.
Okay, okay.
With I would say the last people that I trained, wrestling wise, it was Mojo Horn and Tony.
Okay.
As far as being involved with them and cornering them and things of that nature.
Got it.
There was a couple other guys that I was connected to that became Bellator world champions. Daniel Mason Strauss, shout out to Daniel Mason.
Okay.
I've known him since he's a young guy. Wrestled over for Sycamore. That's a long, that's a story in itself.
Okay.
There's a lot of connections, but he won their Grand Prix tournament out in Atlantic City. Okay. And then he became the world champion, a couple-time world champion. Had a pretty bad accident and then came back to MMA. And the funny thing is, in Mojo's comeback fight for Bellator, Daniel fought as the main event. So, he's good. Cornered a couple guys. Vic Sims, was a former teammate of mine, and he was dabbling one of Rob's protege, one of his guys that he trained. But he was a high school teammate of mine, and I didn't even know he was fighting. And then he well, I'm training with Rob. I'm like, so they used to call me the pound whisperer because I would get the weight off of him. Oh. So Vic, Rob, can I tell a story?
Yeah,
okay,
please.
So Rob did the MMA show down on the square. Okay. Literally, the river was right here, and he called it River Fist.
Wow.
Mojo was the headliner. and he had a bunch of amateur guys coming through. You had
Okay.
Vic Sims, who currently runs a youth wrestling program up in Laughlin called RTL. Shout out to RTL Wrestling, raising the level.
Okay.
And you had Victor Crenshaw, who's a Sycamore guy, wrestled for Sycamore. He's a college national champion, state placer.
Okay.
He was on that card. And then Mojo was the headliner. And I think that's when me and Mojo, after that fight, became close because Mojo had got upset in that fight. And it was almost like he was on top of the world. Because when you talk about MMA in Cincinnati, it was Mojo. Besides Rich Franklin.
Okay.
He was the man. And after that fight, it seemed like everybody just gave up on him.
It's Billy Mojo.
Billy
Horn,
Mojo
right?
Horn, yes,
okay,
sir.
okay. Yeah. He looks familiar. I had to Google him.
Yeah.
But,
So
okay.
So everybody kind of, in his mind and and even looking around, they all kind of gave up on him. Everybody, you go from being hot and then now when you're hot, everybody want to go, clickbait you and everything. But then when you lose a fight and things like that, they're distant. So you see the real haters and the real love, who got true love for you.
Yeah.
So when you do that, that's when he called me. It was like, hey, can you help me with my wrestling? He said, I think that's a big component of my issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm good at jiu-jitsu. He's a heck of a striker because he worked with Rob. Rob got stuff on film that the combos are just crazy.
Yeah.
So, but his wrestling was bad. It was awful. It was awful. So I would literally come like 2-3 times a week and train him, over at Rob's old gym over in St. Bernard. It was just like warehouse church or whatever it may be. It was a little dungeon, spooky place.
What was the nickname of that gym?
I can't remember what it was, but it was.
He has like all these nicknames.
Hey, listen, this place was spooky, spooky. Like when I'm the last person in the gym and you got to cut the light off and run across the gym to get out of there, like you feeling like something's gonna touch your neck, like
Oh.
So yeah, like it was spooky, but me and Mojo would get in there. And one thing I learned about the Mojo was he was very misunderstood.
Oh.
Like you would just think he was one of those guys, just he's out and just crash out on people, whatever. Very intelligent, very philosophical about things, knowing like how to move and like what not to do. Like, I don't mess with those people. They are a little this, that, and the third. Like, So I learned a lot from Mojo just having that conversation. And that was a moment in a time in my life where I appreciated a lot because it helped me understand a little bit more of the adult coaching because I was always coaching kids.
Yeah.
And, him coming back and having this fight, they thought he was just going to get mobbed. He was a body. They had some prospect 10-0, and they had some guy, whatever. And actually, we go in, and Mojo actually wrestled this guy, took him down, submitted him, and he's back. Like, now he's back, So that was a huge moment in my MMA, dealings. And for him, so I know he appreciated that too. So shout out to Mojo, man.
Yeah, if you had to pick one fight that that you could remember forever, and all the other fights you would forget. Do you have a fight in mind?
That I coached or just a fight
that you coached?
Well, besides the one I just explained, okay.
You can say that one.
Yeah. That one is memorable because of what it meant to Mojo and what it meant to me. I didn't want to, I didn't want him to not be successful out of that because I know how the people turn their back on him. And I seen what, he worked with Rob diligently, like, to get the striking together and then work with me to get the grappling things together and things like that. So that was very important. But one fight that I remember, and I hope you don't mind me telling this, but it was crazy. Tony.
Okay.
So Tony called me, hey man, I'm gonna fly you out to Vegas. What? I got a fight. When? Tomorrow. What? Like, what? And this is this is back in my single day. I'm like, all right, boom, I'm on the plane. He check your email. Plane tickets in there. What? So we get out there. Hey man, man, I'm like 12, 15 pounds overweight. I said, Don, we got to fight. We got to weigh in I think it was that night.
Oh my.
So we he had a buddy out there, and he took us to some like resort hotel, whatever. And I'm, all right, put your stuff on, Tony. Get in the steam room, whatever, yeah. So he get
Oh.
ready. I'm about to parlay. I'm about to hang out at this resort and kick it. He go, you ain't coming in there with me? I'm like, for what, man? Like, for what? I ain't got to lose no. So I go in there. I'm sweating my tail off. Like, I'm in there and I got him, to the point where he was on weight. I don't know how he lost it. He lose weight a lot easier now, but he
Wow.
lost the weight. So we're just sitting there kind of in the resort area, and I fall asleep.
Yeah.
So Tony go, wake me up. Hey, Rick. I'm like, what? He go, we got to go back in. I said, go back in where? He said, we got to go back in the steam room, man. I said, why? He said, well, you asleep. I was drinking water. I was in because they had like little snacks and water. I was drinking water. I said, like, you know what I mean? So we go back in there. We get the weight off. And this, we weigh in and he makes the weight. And this guy that he's fighting was just, I don't know if he's a Russian guy. And the guy just like, if you touched his elbow, he was just angry.
Oh.
Like when I mean angry at the world, he was angry. And I'm like, this might be interesting,
Yeah.
So, we get to the fight and, Tony, they wouldn't let us in the cage to warm up or anything like that earlier in that day. Cause as a wrestler, you want to get a sweat out
Yeah.
earlier and things like that, especially if you're fighting later in the night. But
Right.
we get to the fight that day and Tony comes out first and, he do his, introduction, whatever. So we're at the cage waiting for this guy. This guy's bio, he's talking to the camera and say, yeah, I just want to make enough money so I can freeze myself and come back later in life. Man, I looked at Tony and said, you sure you want to do this? And he kind of looked at me like, what? And we go in and we beat him up. But it was one point in the fight where the guy kind of catch Tony in the guillotine. And Tony's defending it properly. But I see his eyes going like, I'm like, we are beating this dude up. He's a bloody mess. And, I'm like, we cannot lose this fight right there. And I think Tony was just relaxing. But I'm like, I don't know what I said or whatever. But I got the pictures of the fight, like just me cornering him in that fight. So, we end up winning the fight pretty handily and things like that. So that's one thing I remember that fight. That was good. But this guy said he wanted to make enough money to freeze himself.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, these dudes are nuts.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who do you think the craziest fighter is out there today?
Well, some of them are gimmicky.
Yeah.
But I think the guy that's the most crazy fighter out there right now is freaking that he's not fighting MMA anymore. But Mike, he's a bare knuckle guy.
Okay. Wow.
Mike. He's like, it'll come to me.
Yeah.
But he's a bare knuckle guy. He gets after it, man.
Okay.
He just actually fought Jake Paul in a boxing fight too. So he just making his money
Okay.
with Conor McGregor and all them guys. They just making their money.
Yeah.
So crazy. That's kind of nuts. He's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
he'll do anything. But Tony, they looked at me the other day. I said, he's like, I'm gonna do a boxing fight and then I'm gonna do bare knuckle. And I said, why? He said, because I'm crazy. I said. Okay.
So you mentioned Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, right?
Okay. Yeah.
It was Jake Paul, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that was rigged? Do you think it was a real fight?
It's always tough, man. Mike's 60 plus years old.
Yeah.
And everybody, when you think of Mike, you think of Iron Mike.
Yeah.
Just like the Tank Davis fight. What are we doing? This guy's a heavyweight and you're junior middle, lightweight. Like it makes no sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think Mike could have probably did more, but I also think Mike is old and he probably just got tired.
Yeah.
I don't know. This Tyron Woodley thing, it kind of bothers me because I don't know if Tyron Woodley took that on the chin and just, just got knocked out. Or, Jake is a former wrestler in Ohio.
Yeah.
Him and Logan, so I got respect for them because they've been in the trenches. They're not just some like YouTubers.
Yeah. Right.
These guys been in the trenches and they train and they're good at what they do.
Yeah.
They market themselves very well.
They
They make their money. They help other people and fighters, and they advocate for them. So at first, I didn't want to. I always like Logan a little bit better than Jake, but like
Yeah.
I really like Jake, you
Yeah.
know, because I understand now what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's doing these little antics and things like that to market himself, but he's also brought a lot of promotion to a sport that was somewhat slowly dying.
Right.
You know, with the MMA thing. Like
Yeah.
now it's kind of reversed. More people like watching boxing right now than a little bit of MMA because there's not a bunch of there's nobody pushing the meter for MMA right now. You know?
Yeah.
You know, I don't even think we got besides if he's the champion, I don't think we even have an American champion. Oh, Kayla Harrison from
Oh,
Middletown.
Okay.
Yeah. So I
Okay.
mean, we got this White House card coming up, and we don't even have an American to go in there and be Captain America.
There's a White House
Oh
card?
yeah, they trying to get a fight at the White House on the line. Yeah,
way.
you ain't heard about that? Oh
Uh-uh.
yeah, that's a big thing. But man, the government's trying to. But they trying to do a fight on the White House line. You know, Donald Trump is
Yeah.
a huge fight fan.
Yeah, you've definitely
You know?
seen him a few times at
Well,
the UFC fights.
Well, the beauty is we had a wrestler at at LaSalle who just won an NCAA national tournament. Shout out to Lucas Bird
Okay.
from Illinois. He had won, and right before he's about to wrestle, Donald Trump shows up.
Oh,
So yeah, yeah.
no.
So that was awesome that he won right there, right in front of Donnie Trump. And Lucas is probably 5'5", 5'4" maybe, but his girlfriend like 6'3".
Oh,
So it was a big
wow.
old thing. It was awesome, man. Like, you know, so
Okay. Okay.
shout out to the birds, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. What's so w- I had Chia Asbury on my show,
Okay.
and one of the things you know Chia?
Chia, yeah. I call her
Yeah,
I call her two piece.
Oh,
I
why?
call her two piece because she was getting into boxing, and so she had this nice two piece that bang bang, like she had that 1 2
Oh,
bang bang.
yeah,
So I'm like, what up, two piece?
Yeah, and one of the things I'm curious what your thoughts are on this is how much. How much is just a professional UFC fighter or even a professional boxer? You were bringing up Logan and Jake Paul being like them being good marketers and stuff like that. How valuable do you think that is for your career in those spaces?
Well, if you want a career, you better have some type of marketability.
Mm,
The problem is a lot of people just think they can come into the sport, a combat sport, with and just make a bunch of money.
yeah,
If you look at the people that push the meter, those guys market themselves to be who they are.
yeah,
And then even in some ways, it took guys like, and I always use Dana White as a advocate of this. It took him to even realize like, oh man, there'll never be a girl MMA fighter. And then you get somebody like Ronda Rousey who
yeah.
pushed the meter, you know,
Mhm.
or do you get somebody, oh, Nate Diaz will never push the meter. You're not that guy, but Nate Diaz pushes the meter. People want to
Yeah.
see Nate D, want to
Right.
see him slap him, Stockton slap
Right.
somebody.
Right.
And I think that's important, you know. Take a guy like Floyd Mayweather. Oh, he's
Mhm.
cocky, he's this, he's that. But what he did was he learned how to market himself to become who he is. Nobody's
Right.
seen Floyd Mayweather running in Vegas at 4 a.m. in the morning,
Right.
not drinking, not smoking, not doing all these things that make him who he is. Because even at the end of the day, when you can talk the talk, but you got to walk the walk.
Yeah.
You know, so I think marketability is very important.
Yeah.
And a lot of people look at it as cocky, but if they're not paying not always to see him win, they probably
Mhm.
seeing them paying to see him lose.
Right.
You know,
Right.
we got a local guy, you know, that was on the verge of that. Adrian Broner.
Mm.
You know, he was just like Floyd. You know, he's brash. He's confident. He's but he was a good fighter. Like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't, you know what I mean? He's a really good fighter.
Yeah.
And I like AB. You know, but sometimes the success also can get to you too. That you get to a certain point in the level, and it's like I'm him. I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take somebody like Deion Sanders,
Uh-huh.
who did everything right.
Mm.
And, by him saying that and being confident in himself, I don't like him. He's cocky. Well, he's not saying he's better than you. He's saying he's him.
Mm.
He's bigging up himself. You don't want him to be like, well, I'm terrible. I'm this. And now you got low self-esteem.
Yeah. Right.
So it's a double-edged sword. You can't, you got to market yourself
Yeah.
because you believe in yourself.
Right.
So I think that's very important
Right.
to do that. And I think Logan and Jake does a great job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you for your perspective on
Yeah.
that. That's neat. Okay. Let me see. What do you do? when a player's having an off day?
Uh,
Either
well,
either one of your kids or even one of the professional players that you coach.
well, most of the time, if you know they are having an off day, you try to get them through that day, and then
Mhm.
come back and sit them down. I had to do that with a senior yesterday.
Mhm.
Kind of sit him down and hey, what's going on? You good? And
Yeah.
sometimes you get fine, good,
Yeah.
whatever. And you look at them and say, hey, man, today was awful, but try not to suck tomorrow. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because one bad day I can deal with, 2, 3 in a row. What's going on right now?
Yeah.
And maybe it'd be something that I can't help them with. Maybe you need
Mhm.
to take a day or 2 off and figure this out or
Right,
whatever.
right.
Um, it depends on what you consider a bad day,
Sure,
but
yeah,
everybody's
sure.
entitled to it.
Sure.
Some people can get overtrained
Mhm.
and don't really understand because there's different tiers of sports.
Yeah.
You got sports where you practice,
Mhm.
and then you got sports where you train.
Mm.
Like basketball, you just go to practice.
Mhm.
Football, you practice. Yes, you're doing physical training and things like that, but most of the time you're just practicing. You're running plays, you're doing this, you learn it, you go home, get Chipotle, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But if you look at swimming, gymnastics,
Yeah.
track,
Yeah.
wrestling,
Yeah.
boxing, these guys have to peak
Mm.
to perform at whatever they're doing at that time.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the other sports, you're peaking as a team or
Right.
whatever, but you're not as a person.
Right.
You don't have to go from this point to that point.
Right.
So, you're gonna have your off days where
Mhm.
things ain't clicking and you're gonna feel sore. You're gonna have that.
Yeah.
But again, that's that will that you
Mhm.
gotta have to get you through that part of it.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Let's get into the Wheelie Bad Jokes segment, and then we'll get into your wrestling at LaSalle and all that. So Wheelie Bad Jokes. Here's how it works.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you a funny joke, a dad joke. I'm not gonna claim it's funny,
I like
but
goofy stuff. Go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you a dad joke. I want you to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10.
Okay.
And then, since you've said to me before the podcast and now that you like a dad joke, generally I give people the option to tell me one back, but I definitely think
Oh,
that I need you to tell me one back.
I don't know if I got one of those.
Oh, come
I don't know if I
on.
got one of those.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
I'll
I'll
just
try.
give
I'll
you
think of some.
I'll just give you a hard time while I do it. So I tried to there's a YouTuber, maybe he's all over social. His name's Logan Lyle. He has
Yeah.
like 1 million+ followers, and all he does is tell dad jokes.
Okay.
Love his jokes, and so I try to always get one from him. So I do have to credit him for a lot of the jokes that I do, but and I tried to get it within the theme of what we're talking about,
Okay.
right? And it's adjacent, let's say. So did you know that Hulk Hogan had to battle a lot of mental health issues to become famous?
No.
He had a lot of he had to WrestleMania.
Okay. Okay.
The WrestleMania and Mania's crazy. Okay. Anyway, that's a horrible one.
So can I rate it?
Yeah, rate it, please.
Oh, that was below mid. That was below mid. Oh, I'm gonna give that for the effort. I'm gonna give it I give it a solid 3. And that's being generous.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Get.
I appreciate
I
that.
need another one. I need another one.
Okay. Okay. So this for some reason I have another one written down. I don't ever have another one prepared, but
I was gonna go say.
but no, I just so ChatGPT helps me plan all these episodes,
Okay.
and it knows that I want a Wheelie Bad Joke segment,
Yeah.
and it often just gives me like the worst jokes ever, like worse than than this one. I like the he had to WrestleMania because it's like I don't know, it's the play on words and whatever, but why did the wrestler? And this is ChatGPT, by the way, and it's bad. It's bad. I'm actually curious if you'll rate it worse or better than the one I just told. So,
Ooh.
why did the wrestler bring a ladder to practice?
Why is that?
To climb the ranks faster.
Okay. I see what you did there.
That's not even.
Yeah, but I
don't know.
I see what you did there.
I don't really like that one, but which is why I didn't lead with that. So wait, would you rate that better or worse? That's worse, right?
It's about the same.
It's about the same, so 3. Okay,
Right.
okay. You really hurt my soul. No, I'm just kidding.
3.2, 3.2, 3.2. You know, I want to
Yes.
give it what the kids say, 6, 7.
Yeah, 6'7", 6'7".
So,
Yeah. We're I don't even know if I'm doing that right. Like that verbiage changed so much that I'm
listen,
like, yeah,
I just go
okay,
with the flow.
yeah, right.
Whatever you know, I go with the flow. Let me figure out what it means first, and then I'm a, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, right.
yeah,
Make sure it's not something
right,
crazy that you're saying
right.
that you don't realize that you're
Yep.
saying. Okay, so let's get into you wrestling at the at LaSalle. So you're the head coach, you're the head wrestling coach at LaSalle.
Yes.
Um, we kind of talked about what drew you to that program, right?
Okay.
And so
That's a whole story in itself.
okay,
Oh
you
yeah.
got something else. Okay,
Oh
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Let's hear it.
So at the time I was actually coaching out at Lakota East, and I had moved from the high school to the junior high, and I was bringing some kids up, and then Coach Boggs, the guy that I told you that came from Princeton and went to Mount St. Joe with me, now my assistant coach now.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, write me a letter of recommendation to go to LaSalle, because he had his best friend had a kid that went there and he wanted to coach. So he
Yeah.
went through that. And at the time where I decided to go, there was some former teammates from Princeton. Their sons were kind of getting into high school and that I had trained when they were little.
Yeah.
And another couple kids that I knew that were smaller. Even Rob actually introduced me to one of them. He's like, I got this little kid, this little guy that, whatever. And I did some work with him before. And they were all in 8th grade. And we were at the tournament. And at the time, I wasn't allowed to coach my kids at the tournament because it was out of season or whatever.
You
and
weren't
the
allowed to?
Yeah, this at Lakota East.
Okay.
Because it's based on the rules or whatever. The rules have changed now.
Okay, interesting.
So Coach Boggs was there, and he was like, "Hey, why don't you coach my kids with me?" And we end up coaching these kids, and I'm like, it just felt right. So long story short, the guy that was the head coach at LaSalle left. He just left, and so they like, "Hey, this your,"
like unexpectedly?
like just hey, I'm done. And he was about to inherit the team.
Whoa.
That team that was supposed to beat that he's about to inherit this team.
Yeah.
And he had created it. He was getting everything in place. And what I mean? Shout out to Avery Zirkle, man. Like, he was getting everything in place for this to be a dynasty. And he, for whatever reason, decided to give up, coaching wrestling,
Oh.
So at the time they called, hey man, Rico, this your time. We gotta find a coach and whatever, whatnot, and yada yada yada. So, I applied and they brought me in on a Monday, and then Tuesday they hired somebody else.
No.
So I'm like, okay. And the guy that they hired, I knew him, but we went, I hadn't seen him in a while. That's another story in itself.
Yeah.
But, so I called him and said, hey man, how do we make this work? I think I want to come to LaSalle, and so we met, and then I ended up coaching there as an assistant coach in 2018.
Okay.
I think it was 2018. So I did 2018, 2019 at LaSalle, and then 2020 I left for a year and went to Princeton,
Okay.
and then 2021 the job opened and I became the head coach. It was that 2020, it was that COVID year.
Yeah.
So in that 2021, I became the head coach to now.
Okay. Wow.
So yeah. So I spent a little time there, and it was, yeah.
Okay.
So that's how I ended up there.
Interesting.
A lot of connections.
Yeah. So, what? Just out of curiosity, I was curious about like, other than doing something horrible to a kid, are there any metrics from like a coaching standpoint that could get you fired as a coach?
Yeah. You can't go on social media just, you gotta have an opinion on things, but you gotta be careful about what you're saying.
Sure.
Sometime, and what you're, how you're saying, what you respond to. Because at the end of the day, I know in Lakota, we preach this E plus R equal O thing, which is, whatever the event is gonna, plus the response is going to equal the outcome of whatever it may be.
Okay.
So let's say some parent come, at you. You said you coach tennis.
Mhm.
So let's say some parent come at you and just on you, and
Mm.
then you just get online and just blast them, or you
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
Well, that's going to
That's
determine
not a
an
good look.
outcome with whoever your employer is.
Mm.
So you kind of gotta. And it's awful being a teacher and a coach, and you just gotta, get attacked, and your character can be attacked and things like that. And these individuals don't know that you have family out there. You
Yeah.
have, people that love you, and a lot of people that adore you and think you're amazing. But their opinion, they want everybody to think you're this awful human being because you didn't do something for them.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
not that they're even helping anything you or giving you any value. You're not, So yeah, there's a lot of things you can do to, you know, um, get fired. But also sometimes it's parents will try to get that, get, get you fired
Get
based
you out
on
of that.
you not folding to whatever it is they want.
Mm.
I've had parents tell me, "Oh, we can get you fired." I said, "Well, whatever you gonna say or do, guess what? My AD already know. So,
Yeah.
well, go ahead. Unless you're lying or something like that. And if a school or organization want to believe
Yeah.
something that is, not true or anything like that, then maybe I don't want to be there anyway.
Sure.
My life is gonna go on without coaching
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So,
Right.
you know,
If if you don't perform, like there's college coaches, for example, that like they're on the chopping
yeah,
block if they don't win or
pro coaches, yeah,
yeah. So like, is that the vibe within the high school?
at LaSalle
Well,
or just in
at
general.
LaSalle, I guess in general
I
for
would say
you.
I would say depending on the sport, yeah. But yeah, you know what? It's so hard to find quality, qualified
Mm,
coaches.
yeah.
Like you can assume that somebody can just come in and change the world, but you got to look at the dynamics of what you have first. So any AD, athletic director that have any sense will see like why is this, nobody ever look at the why
Yeah.
you know like we were on top for years, and then it wasn't a huge fall off, but we wasn't where we were
Right.
years ago. Like I said, we just almost won the state tournament in 2019.
Yeah.
And then you're fourth, you're fifth, you're ninth, you're sixth, you're this. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, there's always a why.
Yeah.
But what was the why? Well,
Yeah.
these 4 or 5 kids decided to go to this school instead of where you were training them, or this parent decided to tell these little kids to not go there because they didn't do this for my baby, and
Yeah.
da da da. So there's always a why for it.
Right.
Now, if administration is looking at that part of it, then that's one thing. But if they're looking at just, man, we just got to we want to go in a new direction, well,
Yeah.
they're entitled to do whatever they need to do for
Sure.
their program or whomever, you
Mhm.
know. And you're never comfortable.
Right.
You're never going to be fully comfortable because it's always going to be either somebody to want what you have
Mhm.
or somebody that just don't want you there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Interesting. Tell me about Team Sweat.
okay, Team Sweat was something that I originally created. What it was called Southwest Elite Wrestling
Okay.
Training. Okay, Southwest Elite Wrestling Training. So we had a youth program because when I became the head coach, we had a couple different entities when I was not the head coach. You had what we call Golden Cross, and that was the guy that left LaSalle. That was his LLC, so I couldn't use Golden Cross name. Then they changed it to Red Lion, which was the coach after him.
Okay.
That was his entity. So now I'm the head coach after COVID, and I'm like, I have no feeder, no anything. So now, I talked to my best friend, lawyer, his dad give me the LLC, teach me how to do this stuff, and created what we call Southwest Elite Wrestling. So we did that for a couple years, and I'm like, we needed. It was a lot of it was disorganized. So we needed to clean it up a little bit. So what I wanted to do, instead of putting a bunch of beginning kids and then a bunch of kids that are actually motivated just in one room and just making a cluster,
Yeah.
I just needed to make 2 entities. So what I did was I created what we call and it's probably a segue into whatever you're about to ask
Yeah,
next.
yeah, yeah.
I created Cincy Lancer, which
Okay.
is a beginning type wrestler novice, which is second year. And what they do is they compete in only CYW tournaments, which is Cincinnati Youth Wrestling tournaments, which is all local tournaments.
Yeah.
It's, developmental, these things.
Mm.
Now I have another entity, which is Team Sweat,
Mm.
still Southwest Elite Training,
Mm.
but these kids are, more into it, more going for what we call the OAC state tournaments, Ohio Athletic Commission, things like that.
Yeah.
So these guys are more serious. They'll travel all over, to get competition and things like that. So we're doing, trying to do that. And I had to limit, not necessarily limit, but, I wanted to create something for the Cincy Lancer individuals to, hey, you do 2 or 3, 4 years in this program, then you move up to Sweat.
Mm.
And then now Sweat from 5th grade to 8th grade, you got kind of that junior high feel.
Yeah.
And now we're preparing you for the high school. Then you move into LaSalle. Now 9th through 12th, you in LaSalle. And then we can get you wherever we need to go.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's,
So just something different that I'm trying. It's still, the numbers are I had a bunch of kids here, a bunch of kids there, but then they're all over the place now. So, it's still trial, and it'll work out.
Yeah.
Because now we have stuff it's in place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where it was all over the place initially. So
Yeah. Do you guys have socials?
yeah. I know I have to change the socials because it used to be Southwest Elite Wrestling. So we gotta change all the socials and things like that. But
when the
we do have emails though.
Before the episode comes out, if you want to give me links to any socials, feel free, and we'll shout them out towards like the end of the episode as well.
Okay.
If you know them, if not, we can again put them in the description.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Do you have any? It sounds like this is a fairly new venture.
Yeah, it was created in. I mean, we started in 2020, 2021. So
5 years.
Yeah, that's with the evolution of it.
Yeah.
So 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
So it's about the same as I've been head coach.
Okay.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Any success stories from the nonprofit so far?
Yeah, what I like about it is you see kids that never wrestled before, and they win city championships, and you get kids that go up to the OAC tournament that never. One of the success stories that I like, what I'm seeing now is, it's created a lane for my best friend, his sons, to come to LaSalle. They're from Wyoming, and they now we got one that he come in, he never wrestled before. And he came in and started varsity for us last year.
Cool.
And his younger brother now is an 8th grader, and now he want to be a Lancer and things like that. He's going through the story, or whatever his evolution is. So those type of things. So
yeah, I like it. Okay. Let me ask you. What's been? I feel like you already answered this, but I think you might have more to this. So what's been the most rewarding part of building young wrestlers at LaSalle?
Rewarding. It's been I would say for me, just the intrinsic feeling of helping kids that you got your ones that are going to be good, but there's some that did not belong.
Yeah.
And just watching the evolution of even the good ones that end up being pretty good.
Yeah.
Just watching the evolution of where they started to where they finish. It's crazy. I will say this until I actually make it happen. LaSalle Wrestling is a Netflix special.
Oh, okay.
It is a Netflix special because if you look at LaSalle, it's a all-boy Catholic school, and it's only 4 of those in southwestern Ohio. It's us, Moeller, Elder, X. All right? And throughout those years, the feel, this is not me saying this, by the way, so you Lancers don't get mad at me out here, but through the feel of those 4 schools, LaSalle has always been the low tier of those 4 schools. That's the feeling that everybody else kind of give off.
Like the stereotype.
Yeah, the stereotype of, oh, they're the low school or they're the, whatever, yada, 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 because, we are a little bit more diverse and things of that nature. However, in wrestling, for the past decade, we've been it. From the night, this last 10-year run, we've been it.
Yeah.
Moeller got a really good team right now. Elder got some good team. Even St. X is getting a little bit better right now. And that's all fine and dandy, And right now, us moving to Division II, I think, we can be walking the same path, but we're in different shoes right now, But if you look at the evolution of what I would say Avery started to now me carrying it on to be six, whatever it may be, I think it is a Netflix story, and it's a lot of moving pieces, and it'll sell.
Okay.
It'll sell. Yeah, along with the Mount St. Joe story, like from Mount St. Joe, the evolution of that.
Yeah.
To, because people don't understand. Yeah, it was 6 kids on the team. Coach Huber recruited me. I was their first All-American. But moving forward, their head coach now, I called down to get him the job down there, and he created their first national champion, who's now fighting in MMA. That's the guy that I want, right?
Yeah.
Cornell Beacham. Shout out to Cornell, man.
Okay.
Yeah, and Charles Mason down there, Coach Mason.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you teach life skills through wrestling?
This is something that I know they want us to do a little bit more of, and I'm more of an indirect teacher. So a lot of times when I'm teaching, it's not me purposefully doing it. It's me just being me. And, so I think it has to be authentic and it has to just happen.
Yeah.
You can sit there and have this great thing or great plan, but nothing matters if you don't implement it.
Right. Right.
So, kind of you have to, go through the moments of whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
And how, again, the event and how you respond to it is going to determine the outcome of whatever that may be. Maybe kids grasp on it. Maybe they don't.
Yeah.
But I know there was times where coaches, I can't think of really nothing specific, but I know that there was times that coaches, probably said something to me or, I got a story if you really want it, but,
I mean,
there was
feel
times
free.
where people said something to me and the quitter is the good loser thing. That was a good thing. But, it was a guy, I was out in Vegas, actually the time that I All-American, and I felt pretty good. I thought I was in great shape and things like that. And, I won my first couple and then I dropped one. Boom, I think in the quarterfinals. And I'm like, I can't breathe. It's Vegas. I'm like, I can't breathe out here. And I get a tap on the shoulder and it's a guy from Princeton. Guess who that guy was? It was that same senior when I was going to quit my freshman year.
Yeah.
It was that same senior.
Oh, wow.
He had a buddy. He was at the University of Findlay, and his roommate he was there. He was out in Vegas. And he got me. I can't tell you the exact words he said to me, but it was, it got me to the point where I'm like, get it together. And I just start ripping off wins.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. And then I'm sitting there and, I'm in the All-American match. And Mount St. Joe ain't never had an All-American before. I didn't even know what All-American was, I don't think. But at the end of the day, I'm in that match and I'm losing the match 4-2. And it's 10 seconds left in the match. And, I seen the guy getting real tired, whatever. And next thing you know, he gets tired and I, grab him, go for one of my, a specific move and he went to counter it, but it was something else I was thinking in my mind. So I hit him with the alternative.
Okay.
Instead of hitting him with the move that he thought. And then I end up scoring more points than I thought. And Coach Boggs in the corner and, he go, there's no time on the clock. I look over in slow motion, and the whole place just go crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Because it was like first All-American, and I'm just like, So we celebrating, and then, it's kind of like in a hotel, so it's like, the arena was. So when we walk out, they had like a live band, and it was, that song, I get knocked down, I get up again, so like, so that those type of things is, no memorable things like, kind of getting sidetracked of the question,
No,
but
no, you're good.
so
This is great. I love the different stories
yeah,
and paths that we're going
yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah.
Do your LaSalle wrestlers know that you coach Tony Johnson and all that?
Some of them, this generation probably don't. They probably
Okay,
don't know who Tony is.
got it. Yeah,
You know, now that he's back local, he probably can show up a little bit more or whatever.
yeah.
But they probably don't know who he is as
Mhm.
a fighter. But he has come to the room in previous years, and I introduced him and things of that nature. So
Okay, so a couple coaching questions.
okay.
Um, what's the biggest difference between coaching technique and coaching belief? Is
Ooh. Technique is there's a million ways to skin a cat.
yeah.
And technique, you can teach something one way and it may be great for you, but it might
Mhm.
not be great for me.
Right.
So the technical aspects that I like to say is I don't, not necessarily how you do it because it does matter sometimes.
Mhm.
But if you can understand and learn the concepts of
Mhm.
whatever the sport is,
Yeah.
then add whatever it is you are capable of doing physically,
Yeah.
then I think you're going to be who you are. You have to have an identity of who you are. Because
Right.
I can teach 10 things and you probably can't do none of them, or you
Mhm.
can do 5 of them. So,
Mhm.
and then somebody else can come in and teach the same 10 things a different way and you can do them all.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's one of those things versus confidence is, you know what I mean? Hey, look, I don't care if I can do these or not. I'm a do it. I'm gonna
Mm.
try it. I'm gonna throw it at it and going in
Mhm.
there and practicing and working on it and working on it and
Yeah.
working on it and working on it until you
Yeah.
perfect it.
Yeah,
So
I think that almost breeds the confidence, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. Well,
Yeah.
confidence comes with preparation.
Mhm.
If you prepare for it, I had a coach, football coach. What if I don't want to misquote him. Coach Poole. He was playing the NFL. He was one of my DB coaches in college,
Mhm.
and one of my favorite coaches. He's one of my favorite coaches.
Okay.
Um, and if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. I
Yeah.
think it was something like that he said. Like,
Mhm.
and to this day, he reminded me of Coach Prime, to be honest with you. He's like the second to Coach Prime to me in my eyes.
Yeah.
That's Coach Prime Jr. But those things just resonate with me,
Mm.
So
Okay. Interesting.
yeah.
Okay, so I by the way, can you take a guess how long we've been going for?
Oh, an hour.
Hour and 45.
Really?
Yeah. So I wanna respect your time and try to wrap this up in the next like 15 or so minutes.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'll come back for part two.
yeah, please. These conversations just fly by and it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, like where did the time go? But okay, so a little bit about you and so I guess anything else on wrestling, anything about your coaching philosophy that you want to say, or anything about your MMA life?
Um, yeah, I mean, mostly my MMA life is pretty much over. It's more of a, just coaching. Like I said, if an individual want me to help them, like I
Mhm.
know some young guys out there in the gym right now, and I was, going over some wrestling stuff with them. I'm
Yeah,
not more of the like I'm gonna go and do the MMA.
yeah,
And me and Tony always flirt like, hey man, like I got a couple more fights and let's just do this and whatever. And I'm,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it is what it is. I'm always gonna be a coach or always help anybody that want to be helped.
Sure, it's awesome.
Um, my philosophy changes a lot. Not that I deviate from the basic core things, but it changes depending on who you're dealing with. Are you
Yeah,
dealing with grown men? Are you dealing with younger individuals that are just getting started? Are you dealing with these high school guys that they've learned this type of thing now or this culture of you being an independent person. Now you're in a team aspect.
right.
So, the philosophy has to be um you have to give a little bit of your individuality up to be a part of a team. That's
Sure,
number one. Even
sure.
if you're a wrestler, you're still part of a team.
Mhm.
Um, and you're gonna have some challenging days mentally, physically, socially,
Mhm.
emotionally, spiritually. So how you endure that,
Yeah.
because I mean that's really I don't have many goals. It's hey, help kids and whoever's number one in that sport, I need to beat them.
Mhm.
Them my 2 goals, help kids and
Yeah.
beat whoever that number one spot is.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Okay, so let's get into some of the personal side
okay.
of you. Tell me about being a father of 2 kids.
Well, yeah, I mean that's awesome. I for a long time in my life, I kind of started, a little bit later in life, but for a long time in my life, I never thought I would, be a father. Not that it would
Mm.
bother me or anything like that. I just, the way I just navigated life, I just spent so much time coaching kids, and I always felt like I had multiple.
Yeah.
Well, I got into a relationship, and she had a kid, and um, so I became that person for her. Now she's in college, go to UC, shout out to Vea,
Nice.
and she stole me the second I saw her, like,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
she's, that's my heart. Then I, right during COVID, we had a kid, by the name of Gianna, the
Okay.
one that comes in the gym. I don't know if you ever see her.
Yeah,
Look,
I might have.
little light
I
skin,
don't
little ain't gonna
remember.
run
Yeah,
around,
yeah.
tearing up the place, and then, but that's my dog right there.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, that's my dog, and I never knew that you can love something like not like I don't want to say that because people have relationships they like I'm not saying that,
Yeah.
but I've never had to be responsible for anything besides myself
Yeah.
in some aspects,
Yeah.
and to be responsible for somebody's whole world and
Mm,
life and upbringing and everything about them, like
mm.
that's crazy,
Yeah.
like and it's like you ain't gonna take a bullet for too many people, but
Yeah, right.
so at the end of the day, like that, it's anybody that know me know they're my girls, like they're my
Mhm.
girls, man. So
So it sounds like you didn't necessarily not want kids, but you
yeah,
just thought you were gonna not have kids.
I mean, I never was resistant to it. I
Mm.
just, hey man, if it happened, it happened. And then it was just, we were in a situation that it
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
And initially, again, like she, when we got in a relationship, she had a kid. So I
Yeah.
always felt like I never not felt like that was my kid,
Sure, sure.
you know? And
Yeah.
and and that's, so I was already cool there. And then we actually, added one that was ours. So
Yeah.
hey,
Awesome.
that's just bonus. So
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Being a father, what's that compared to outside of fatherhood?
Well, I don't know if you can compare it.
Yeah,
I don't think you can compare that to anything
right.
because you are who you are, and
Mhm.
if you're a present father and you're gonna do some things that you don't want to do. So I mean I got a couple funny stories. Like
Please.
I got to I know it's time
Yeah.
whatever, but like I got a couple things. So
Well, I can go over if
yeah, yeah,
if
yeah,
you
yeah.
want to, but
Yeah.
I wanna be
I'll sit
respectful
there,
of your time.
it's all good. But there's nothing compared to being a parent and a father. Let's say a father.
Yeah.
And I've said it. Both of them are little dancers now. Like Nevaeh, she danced for years. Now,
Okay.
again, she's in college, but now Gianna, she's starting. She's did the rec thing, and then she competed last year. Now she's in it to win it right now. And their mother is their dance. One of their dance instructors and coaches. So I've sat at these dance competitions and in the back, and I'm like, they'll dance once and then they might hours later dance another one. I'm like, well, dang, this is a wrestling tournament.
Yeah.
This is exactly what a wrestling tournament is.
Right.
You know,
Interesting.
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Where your kid wrestle and then they might be hours and they wrestle again. So, doing that and then a quick story. This is how much you love somebody. a kid.
Okay.
So they're at the national tournament, or they're nationals, they're dance nationals, and we decided to stay down and there is in Pigeon Forge or something like that. So
Mm,
we decided to get a cab and stay down there a little later.
mm.
And we're packing up to leave this day, and somehow Nevaeh suitcase, she got clothes on the suitcase and she put it next to the car, and it's like a little bit of a hill.
Mm.
And next thing you know, the suitcase just started rolling down the hill, right? And she goes to grab it, boom, but she grabs it closed. The suitcase just keep going. And there was these pillars like there, and it just hits the pillar and it just goes boom. Now, I know what was in that suitcase. I'm talking like these little bougie kids, they Lululemons and you know what I mean? There's a couple grand in there. So I look down and I'm telling you, this it was just, and it was a long way down.
Oh
Like,
no.
so, it stopped about halfway, and then I like on the tree,
Yeah.
and they go, "Rico, go get it." I'm like, "What?" Like, I'ma die going down there. Like, what do you? I can't rappel down there. I don't have no
Right.
rope. So I call them, and they go, the people. They said, "Well, it may be gone, and then you got to worry about bears." I'm like, "What?" Yeah, y'all like that? They like, "Go get it." So I walked down this long, steep driveway, and then I kind of found like a flat path,
Yeah.
just kind of see. So I'm like, maybe I can walk, and then so I walk, and then I kind of got close to it, and I seen it was up a little bit, but it was a
Mm.
bunch of leaves, and I'm telling you, like if something go wrong, I'm gonna just fly down, and I'm gonna end up needing rescued. I don't know how I'm gonna get rescued, but
Yeah.
it is over some Lululemons,
Right, right.
So I end up, climbing up and getting the suitcase and dragging it out, and I'm like, I'm like anxiety up, and here they got their cell phones out laughing at me. They're laughing at me coming up the hill, and I'm dragging this suitcase, and I'm like, I'm pissed off right now, and
That's
I'm like, we could
hysterical.
buy some more Lululemons, but my life, y'all didn't care nothing about me, but
Yeah.
you cared about these Lululemons. And then you have the nerve to post a picture on Facebook. So now I'm
That's
just like,
great.
so now one of my sister coaches, Pat Simpson, he always send me that picture, like,
Yeah.
look at this, look at this. And I got a LaSalle wrestling shirt on, so it's crazy. Oh,
That's awesome. So, but you recovered the
I
suitcase.
got the suitcase, and we got the Lulus.
That's
Saved me a couple
awesome.
grand.
That's
So,
awesome. Did they take pictures or did they video you the entire time?
I think I don't know, it was a little bit of both. It was a while ago, so if
Yeah,
I can find that picture, I'll send it to you. But man,
yeah.
it's crazy, man. It was crazy. That was one
Okay.
of the craziest things I ever did in my life.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, so let's see. So one of the questions is what keeps you balanced outside of sports, and it sounds like it's your kids.
Yeah, that it has to be because after sports or even after my season, I go straight. They go right into season.
Mm,
So when let's say wrestling is from November to second week of March or whatever, and then they start competing.
yeah.
So I kind of, learned throughout the years that, hey, I'm gonna take a little break from this and focus on them,
Mm,
and that helps me. It helps me rejuvenate my brain and not get burned out and things of that nature as
yeah,
well. So
yeah.
that's what keep me balanced. I
Okay.
mean, I run all across the city, with
Yeah,
swims and this and that, and
yeah,
but so I get it, but that keeps me balanced in that aspect, along
yeah,
with
yeah.
actually work and
Okay.
things like that. So, yeah.
So I have no kids,
Okay.
and I've always heard like the reaction that you have, like, I do you think you could have fathomed that reaction not having kids?
It's tough because I deal with kids all day. I
That's
tell can
true.
let me I like the way you worded that, but let me kind of take it a little
Sure.
different direction.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you what, when I didn't have kids, what kind of bothered me was, coaching and then seeing like kids interact with their parents after the meet. So I'm just like, boom,
Mm,
I'm coaching and then I'm just walking away or whatever.
yeah.
And they go to their family and they're hugging their dads and they're hugging
Yeah.
their moms and like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So
Uh,
it kind of, that thing. Even today, like, like I said, I grew up with a single, mom.
mhm.
And see the dads, how, some of them how they react to their sons and stuff like.
Mm,
Some of them is like, man, what are you doing?
yeah.
You're messing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kids, they need their dad. Just give them a hug,
Yeah.
not tell them that they're awful person or whatever.
Right.
And then some you see them interact and I love you and things like that. And you're like,
Right.
man, I wish I had that, man.
Yeah.
So all I can do is be that for somebody that don't have that. Like
Right.
give me,
That's awesome.
and I shake their hand before, shake their hand after. I give them hugs. Tell them
Mhm.
that you love them and things like that. Because I always say, if you wrestle for Coach Rico Hill, like you're my family
Mm,
forever.
yeah.
I still got college guys that call me and we talk and work them through their issues and things like that. But that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Once you're there, we're family.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So yeah, that feeling is it's tough to fathom, like to not feel that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you need to have kids to feel that, because you can
Sure.
feel that. You can help a kid
Right.
and feel that,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
So
One of the big things in the disabled community that is, super important to me is parents coddling their kids.
okay.
And I'm sure you see that in the able-bodied world too,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
for
yeah.
some reason, there's a kid in a wheelchair, and everybody, teachers, parents, everybody thinks that they need coddled.
Yeah.
And that my mom has a quote, "If you break a bone, it'll heal. If you break their spirit, it'll paralyze them for a lifetime."
Okay.
And it's, like, that's how she raised me, is like, just d go, like, you can do it on your own, and parents, there's some parents out there that I think don't wanna see their kids struggle, and
Okay.
in some cases, that struggle's necessary,
For
right?
sure.
And
For
so,
sure. Yeah.
it's interesting, I'm sure you can relate to that a little bit
Yeah, but
with what you
I mean,
see.
I think even in that aspect, like, I think the majority, and I would say this generation, I think the majority of these kids are coddled,
Yeah, they are.
and that's tough. Hey, Johnny, go get your book bag. Don't forget this. Don't forget that. Don't forget this. Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's a little bit, again, more that direct teaching.
Yeah.
And then now, they can't do anything for themselves as
Mhm.
adults.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
our generation, I'm not sure how old you are, but like,
I'm 40.
okay, you 40, I'm 47, so
Okay.
I remember, me and my mother, I was telling somebody this story the other day, like literally a couple days ago, that my mother, she would, we would, over the summer, walk this path. Like, we would go walk the same path
Mhm.
every single day. Stop at the store, do this, walk the
Mhm.
same path. And then she go, yeah, remember that path we walked? First day of school. Yeah, that's how you
Mhm.
get to school. You and your sister walk
Oh,
this path. Don't
okay.
turn nobody, don't talk for nobody, whatever. And what she was doing, she was indirectly teaching us how to
Y
walk to school and walk back, walk
yeah.
to school and walk back.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about my mother. She always was that person to
Uh,
do that. And it taught us those life skills, and it wasn't always direct. Obviously,
yeah.
you gotta have a balance of both a little bit to be there. But a
Yeah.
lot of these kids is now they're driven by these cell phones, and
Mhm.
it even made us kind of, I don't want to say the word, but it kind of made us a little bit less unintelligent. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's a word,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I used to know every person phone number by heart.
Me
Now
too.
hey, what's this? Or we knew how to get to this place, that place, without using Waze or Google
Mhm.
Maps and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I think a lot of this generation is coddled, and
Mhm.
coddling kids with any type of disability or whatever.
Yeah.
And it can be coddling them, or you can be, and I'm gonna use this word very loosely. You can cripple a kid by coddling them,
Yeah, you can.
in
Yeah.
many ways,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they're not going to be prepared for the world.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's exactly my mom's quote.
yeah,
So, yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Um, one more question,
okay.
and then we'll wrap up we'll basically wrap everything up. Uh, it which one do I wanna ask? That's the question. So, oh man, this might open up a can of worms, but if you
I'll complete the fifth. I'll
let
play the fifth.
let me so if there's one thing in the education system that you would change, what would it be?
Levies.
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 Okay.
Like bonds and levies. Like that's tough. Like, I don't want to go too deep into it, but when you're going through these bonds and levies, it dulls the community. It dulls the culture of what you're trying to accomplish
Oh,
in a school district. And I'm saying from a standpoint of not that it's not good because you're trying to better your situation
yeah,
in the school district. What I'm saying is, it's almost like an election.
yeah, yeah.
You got to go through an election. Like, what are we doing? Like,
Uh-huh.
we gotta, yeah, we gotta go. Do we go right? Do we go left? Do we go this? Do we go that? And it's like,
Mm,
I don't want to pay more money for my taxes and da 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 da. And then, but you got
yeah,
kids here that's like, I need this, I need that in their
right.
mind, and you don't understand that when your levies fail, your tax, your property value go down.
Oh,
And people don't want to pay for this because some people might have, might not have kids in
Uh,
that school district, or they
yeah.
might send their kids to private school,
Right. Right.
and they're like, well, we're not paying for this,
Right.
and I'm like, well, you live out there.
Right.
Why wouldn't you want your community to be good? Why
Right.
wouldn't you want your community to flourish and your school district to flourish?
Yeah.
Because now your property value is because more people gonna want to come out there and live.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
that's one thing that I would change. Obviously, the pay. You know what I mean? I think we do a lot for kids,
You
and
do.
I see some big money people doing a lot less. So
Mhm.
pay would be good. You'll be comfortable as a teacher,
Yeah.
but you're never going to be a millionaire or
Right.
something like that unless you just hoard money.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And
Yeah.
So
Interesting. Okay. Closing questions. What's one thing you hope people take away from this episode of us talking together?
I would just want people to take away that we just normal people. We just normal people having a conversation,
Yeah.
and it's good to kind of reach out to, like I said, we know each other, but we don't really know each other,
Yeah.
and we can just sit here for 2 hours and have a normal conversation.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And I like that part about it,
Yeah.
So I hope people take that away,
Yeah.
and the fact that LaSalle Wrestling is coming, we're back. We are here, and we are going to chase this Division II title. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let me hear you comment or see you comment LaSalle in the chat, even if you don't know what LaSalle is. If you're from France, let me hear you say it.
Let's go. Lancers roll deep. Let's go, Lancers. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, let's go. Okay, do you have socials where people can find you?
Yeah, I do actually. I mean, I can look them up, but I got a bunch of socials. Well, I got my personal social. My Instagram is swagtastic_1. That's spelled ONE.
Okay.
That's my personal. We have our LaSalle one. It is LS_wrestling page. That's our social. And
Okay.
our X is, let me get that. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. These will all be in the description, guys, as well. So anybody watching that's curious,
It's scary that I don't even know my personal Twitter page or X page. At LS_Lancer WRSTL. That's our wrestling page.
Okay.
And I don't know. I got to find my personal Twitter. That's at Coach Thrill 247.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. And if you could just text me after the podcast I'll make sure I put it in the description. And then
Facebook is Rico Hill.
All right.
Probably private though.
Rico.
I'm incognito.
Right. Well, I just want to say thank you for sitting down with me today. It was awesome hearing your stories.
Thank you. I had a blast, man. I hope this part one. I need to come back, man.
Yeah. This is definitely part one. It's interesting. I have I do weekly podcasts. This episode will probably come out, I think, in the new year. Because I've booked that many podcasts, and I've got one coming out a week. You'll see shorts that I'll create as well, for the podcast as well. So, it was a blast hearing your journey and hearing about your kids, the MMA and wrestling, and you've lived a fascinating life. So, thank you for so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Before we end, is there anything else that you want to mention?
I just want to. I want to mention. Shout out to all the students out of Lakota and the teachers and things of that nature. Also, shout out to all the wrestling community in Cincinnati. I know we need to start coming together and training a little bit together more. And just advocate for the sport. I know there's a lot of guys that's doing, youth clubs and private clubs and things of that nature. So, just advocate kids to get involved in the sport. I think it's a wonderful thing for them. It teach them a lot of life lessons.
Yeah.
And shout out to, everything. My, Emerge Dance Academy where my daughters go to, dance.
There you go.
Mama, director over there. So, Shout out to that. Shout out to Rob Jones for, the things that he do. And shout out to you as well doing these, interviews and things of that nature, man.
Heck
Shout
yeah.
out to Cincinnati, man. I love it. 513. Let's go, baby.
513.
Let's go.
Okay. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining the Rolling Forward podcast. If you like what you heard, hit that like button, subscribe, or leave a comment. I'm for it all. And if you like what you heard today, I want to hear in the comments what your favorite part about the episode was, and maybe even what keeps you rolling forward. And then the shirt that I'm wearing, in case of fire, use stairs. And it's one of my favorite shirts. I did get this on Amazon, but if you want to pick up a shirt that's kind of like this, with a bunch of different jokes on it, you can pick those up at rollingforward.printful.me. And if you've got a story worth sharing that fits the theme of what we're doing here, reach out. I'd love to potentially have you on my show and have a conversation with you as well. So until next time, keep rolling forward. Thanks, everyone.